had enough of this nonsense.
Yes, we have had enough of this nonsense, haven't we, Soul Sync? It's lovely to have you here. It's me, Jason Paul, and you're in the place here at the Soul Sync where we shine a light on all things to do with the spirit world, consciousness, energy, the curiosities of the paranormal. The list really is endless, and it's lovely to have you here today, so thank you. Now, on this conversation, I'm excited because we're going to be talking about parts of mediumship that don't often get discussed. It's safe to say that sometimes spirituality in general, even mediums standing on a platform, it can be glamorized. I wanted to talk about some subjects today that, aren't so glamorous, like the path that actually leads us to unfold our mediumship in the first place, what got us here, and most of those stories, I'm noticing a bit of a pattern here, Soul Sync. They, can be very traumatic. I know my own journey to awakening. My God, it was bloody awful, quite frankly, and I need to start talking about that more on this podcast because it wasn't glamorous. So let me tell you today, Soul Sync, on this episode, this is probably the only glamour you're going to get, I'm afraid, except for our very glamorous guest. You're probably asking who that is now, and I've managed to waffle for almost 1 minute 20 without telling you. So we've got a medium called Mia Otterson. She's been on the podcast before, and firstly, every time Mia comes on, we have a right giggle because she puts things in just such a interesting way. So we're going to be talking about some very fascinating conversations today, like ADHD and masking, and what it actually looks like to have ADHD. My world and the way I see things is very different to the way anyone else sees the world, and how do we truly even know that the way that we see the world is even how anyone else even sees it? How do we know that we're not the odd ones out? So we talk about some deep subjects there. We also talk about how to use ADHD as a superpower. But let me tell you, this episode isn't just for ADHD. We're not discriminating here. But we do talk about that. And we talk about the quickness of our minds and how that really helps in mediumship. So you're going to enjoy this one. So, Mia, I'm so excited to have you back once again on the Soul Sync. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here again.
Well, I was saying to you before I just hit the record button there, it's you coming on was one of my favourite episodes ever because you just make me smile so much and laugh so much, and that's a beautiful thing. So thank you and welcome back. It's lovely to have you.
Thank you so much. And I think laughter is so important. That saved my life, I think.
Well, I remember you saying about your really fascinating story last time you came on, and your story always stays in my mind. So I encourage people, if you want to hear about Mia's full story and interview, go back in time. But I know you've come on today, and I was so excited for you to come on because you've got so much knowledge, and I think you put things in such a relatable way that makes sense. And I think that sometimes I find this in spirituality and mediumship, and life in general. Sometimes we spend so much time, talking about success, but not talking about the hardships and the trials, the tribulations, and the difficult times that actually get us to the positive times.
Absolutely. I always thought that I would write a book called The Backside of Mediumship, but now I'm hoping someone else will do it because I don't have the inspiration. But there's so much going on behind the scenes compared to when you see a medium standing up on the platform working, for example. So I think when I started my journey, if any of my tutors would have said, well, I'm always also nervous and I'm also doubting myself, that would be such a huge help,
It would. And it's not easy to develop one's mediumship. It's quite a journey. And I know that when you was on before, you really talked about that. And it takes a real, look at oneself to really dig deep, doesn't it? To go on that journey and keep going back to it. I think I've only recently accepted, Mia, that I am a medium. Now. I'm no longer an unfolding or a developing medium. I am a medium.
Yes.
And I can connect, Mia.
I think that's important, actually, what you're saying, because so many people wait too long before they accept they are a medium. You don't have to compare yourself with the top of the top or whatever that is, But if you're working with the energies, if you're working with the spirit, of course you are a medium, we have to perfect our talents all our lives. So.
Well, it reminds me of something someone said to me recently. I've been learning to play the guitar, and I said to one of my friends, "Oh, I'm learning to play," because he said, "Can you play a song?" I said, "Oh no, I haven't learnt enough yet." And he said, "No, this thing that you've got about learning, I can't play until I've learnt." And he said to me, "No, just play the guitar." And that sort of stood in my mind. At what point did you accept that you are a medium?
Oh, it actually took me quite some long time, because I grew up with, you have to speak to the spirit when you was a kid. You have to talk to your guide. You have to have a lot of experiences. And I had nada. I was just petrified of the dark. So, as soon as it became dark and it went quiet, obviously I felt a lot and I never understood it. So I was just petrified, never allowed anything to disturb me, because I ran with my pillow to my parents' bed, every night. So it took me a long time. And sometimes I think we are all mediums. If I should be honest, I think everybody has a talent enough to practice it and educate yourself and become better on your craft. But then it is like with everything else, if you have a talent, it goes easier. But if you look at the football player or a hockey player or wherever, it's not the one with the greatest talent that usually go furthest. It's the one who actually put the work in, or actually do the training and sacrifice a lot to make the skills better. And I think it's the same with this, you have to be willing to put the work in, and you have to be willing to realize you're learning something every day you're working. Every time I do a sitting, I do mistakes, and thank God, otherwise I would stagnate. You need them little mistakes to understand a little bit more all the time.
Well, we don't talk enough about the mistakes, do we? We talk more about when someone's got to a place. How often do you, well, I guess even in what you do now, people, will look at you as a teacher, as a medium, sort of, perhaps want to put you on a pedestal a lot. But how often do we talk about the mistakes? We don't talk about them a lot because it shows vulnerability. And I've found that a lot. But you mentioned something interesting there, which was about putting in the work. And recently my thoughts have evolved around manifesting. Yeah. And I realised myself that a lot of the time with manifesting, I would wish and I would hope and I would try and feel that thing that I want in the future. But I now realise, looking back, the times I have successfully manifested versus the times I haven't, it all evolves around having a system. Otherwise, it's wishful thinking. I'm going to manifest the perfect partner. Yeah, I'm not going to put myself in one place at all, Mia, where that person might live. I'm expecting them to break down by my door and ask me for some coffee.
Good luck.
And they haven't broken down yet, Mia. But you've got to have a system, otherwise it is wishful thinking.
It is. And it's like they want to do these mood boards, and they're putting everything up there and they stay in the little room and they don't go outside the door. Well, how it's going to happen? You have to put some effort in.
You do. It's the equivalent of, I'm putting a nice six-pack on there or whatever, a perfect body, but then, never contemplating a gym membership. So you make an interesting point there. You very helpfully provided me with some topics that we can delve into today, and I'm excited about those. Yeah. And, one of the first ones I wanted to talk about was you put down about becoming a clear channel. Yeah. Now, what does that mean to you personally?
This is so fun, because I don't think I ever will be a clear channel.
No, I haven't become one yet myself.
But what I actually thinking about when you hear that topic is that I think it's very important to surrender to the spirit and not put your own mind in what your communication should be with the spirit world. And when I started my journey, you have that little checklist, relationship, cause of death, the age, the hobby, blah, 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 blah. And it was like you have to check everybody to be a good medium. But, today I never ask spirit a question. Never. I would never do that. I just ask them, give me something, and I work with it because I expect that the spirit world is far more intelligent than I am, and they know the recipient more than I do. So why would I like to interfere just because of my ego? Or I want the cause of death, I want the relationship, I want the hobby, I want whatever, No, they know what the recipient need to hear. So I'm just listening and work with what I can. And I also believe that the spirit world knows my mind. They know my life experience and how my mind is working. Even if it's crazy, they understand me better than I do, I think. And I believe that they give me information that I can interpret, but also that the recipient will receive as accurate. So I believe the surrendering, and it's hard for the ego because sometimes you get away from a reading or a demonstration with one of the contacts. Like, God, I should have done much better with this piece of information. I should have dig deeper there and I should have done that. And yes, you should analyze it because you should strive for better. But sometimes when I've been working and I've been thinking, shit, I miss so much. I just scrape by. And these are the few times actually the person afterwards coming up to me and say, I got exactly what I needed. Thank you very much. So
and then you're blown over. You're going, what? Scratching your head.
Exactly. Because you think I didn't get into the nitty gritty of the disease or whatever that I like to do when I get something. But sometimes maybe you have to follow the energy flow and not get into it because I want to. That's my ego, But you, at the same time, you can't have it as an excuse for not doing your job. But you should always try to do the best, but accept. And I think that's been the hardest thing I've done with my mediumship, to accept that the client is over the moon and I'm sitting there, oh, I missed that one. I should have done more with that photography there. I should have done more with that deceased or whatever. And instead of just, they are over the moon. Why aren't you happy, Mia? You did your job.
Well, you make a very interesting point because, I understand what it's like when you're getting taught by various teachers. You might be on your mediumship journey and there is that kind of evidence checklist. But I think to myself, if I was in the spirit world and, I wanted to come down here and give a message to someone and, the medium saying, oh, first of all, I need to know, your street address, what you died, passed away of, what your symptoms were, what your signs were. It's almost like you're passing telephone banking with all the security questions before you can even get through with the message.
Yeah, exactly. It's like an interview,
Yes, you need to answer. You need to answer my 20 questions as the medium before I'll allow you to use me as a channel.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, by saying that I listen to the spirit, I also believe that it's a teamwork. I'm not a marionette to them, So for me to be the best channel for them to do the best job, I have to feel secure. So therefore, I always tell them I want to establish my contact as soon as possible with maximum 5 sentences, pieces of evidence. And if they don't understand it, I'm not just moving on, I'm going back. Why don't they understand it? Have I misinterpreted something? Or do I have to awaken the mind, because otherwise I'm just making more and more evidence and suddenly have 3 other hands coming up, and where am I, so, and then I get insecure. So I want to know. So I always, like I say today, I make it as easy as I can for me because I hate anxiety. I had that all my life, especially when it comes to this work. So I want to feel confident. So I don't allow the audience or the sitter to own me. I own the power. I own my space and I'm in charge, to start with. So I get into a positive flow with my contact or my spiritual reading or whatever I do.
That takes a long time to get to that stage.
Oh, yeah.
It does.
And I shall be honest, I'm still insecure. I still get insecure.
What helps you to feel confident before? What's an ideal sort of way of you going and prepare? Oh, I imagine you'd want to sit there with some nice frankincense, me sort of fanning you with some nice fans with some grapes on the side to get you in the right.
That would be lovely. That would be awesome.
But if I'm not available, Mia, what would it look like to get you feeling in your power?
I think I came to a point where I now, when I'm working, I'm stepping into a power that is not normal Mia. Normal Mia can have a very low self-esteem. She can be very anxious. She has a lot of anxiety. She worries a lot. And a lot of people say that you shouldn't work if you're not in a good mood or if you're not feeling well up here. For me, when I'm working, I forget all Mia. I forget myself and my normal life and all my issues and all my problems. So I actually feel very empowered by working with the spirit and being in that energy. So it's the only time I actually feel whole. I would say that when I'm my husband would hate me now, but he doesn't listen to. No, but that's actually the time where I feel as most happy in my whole life is when I'm connected with the spirit and I have a nice link and I can feel the love and the empowerment and everything. And it's the only time my mind is normal as it can be.
It feels like you're sort of putting on some invincibility cloak when you... Yeah,
I am. I'm stepping. It's like when we're joking about, well, the priests are putting the overcoat on and they go in and do the job, and they hide behind all the other issues. I do similar things. I might not be a bad guy or a bad girl, but it's like I get empowered in a way I never felt in my normal, ordinary day life. So it is a little bit of addiction to work with the spirit.
It's interesting, isn't it, that you know what you're describing, the you outside of mediumship is, people probably wouldn't recognize that version of you, but it must be, I guess, it's probably enhanced you, a great deal from where you was prior to doing that.
Absolutely.
Because it seems that when you're developing it, it touches your life in many other ways. And actually, you have to go through that work, don't you? Because that's what it requires to become a clear channel. And it's, it's hard because we have so much stuff bogging us down on a daily basis.
All the time. And we also have the animal instinct who wants to have control, safety and security. And as soon as we're picking up something we don't understand, the mind will tell you, is this safe? Are you secure here? Do you want to run away from it? Or are you going to fight it, So I think to become a medium, for me, it has been a lot of bravery because I have to do things I'm fearful of. I've always been fearful to talk in front of people. I've always been fearful when I'm meeting people for the first time because I'm actually quite shy. But like I said, when I'm stepping into this energy, it's like I know who I am and I know what I'm doing. And I feel more secure than I do in any other aspects of my life.
When you say about kind of, you have the fear and whatever, and it sometimes stops you. It was making me kind of think of how often, the inner editor in our head, stops us from doing things, whether it's, or what will people think about me if I do this? Will they like it? Will they, care? Does what I'm going to say really matter? And it stops us so much in our life from doing anything, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I think the worst thing I hear is that a lot of students say, I'm just going to do one more course. I'm getting a little bit more self-confidence before I do my sittings. Well, when you have that thought, get out and do your sittings. You're not supposed to go courses all your life. You're supposed to get out there working because that's when you're learning. Because you're meeting people. Not everybody is nice and kind and loving and duffy, some people are really awkward to work with. And you get your smashing your head sometimes, but that's the learning, not on the courses, because that's a safe environment where everybody is nice and uplifting and encouraging and that's fine. You did well, didn't understand that, but you did well, But when you're out there working, you have to work with your mediumship. And I think that's what's polishing your mediumship as well. So some people stay too long, I think, just practicing.
Yeah, it's almost a safety blanket, isn't it?
Yeah,
and you sort of, and I can understand that because even myself, I sometimes think you can do this now. All these courses that you're going on are not to say that you can't do it. You are now at the stage where you can do it. This is, and I can understand that about the safety blanket mode because I like it when someone gives me a no Mia to be nice about it and just give me it very lovingly sugar coated. Oh, I can't take that, my dear Jason.
No, and you feel it, and you go, really? Are you sure? You can't say no if you're like, okay, I don't understand,
It's, do you know what? It's even for myself, I get more flustered in a one-to-one situation than I do doing platform, because on platform, I feel like what I'm trying to do is to use the energy of everyone there. But the key is to not get fixated or pay attention to anyone. But when someone's in front of you watching you, I find this because I've got ADHD brain. I didn't realise.
Yeah, me too.
Well, yes, but can you relate to this? Because I didn't realise until recently that masking is a thing. And have you heard of the term masking?
No.
No. So masking, it was on a documentary on the BBC, and it was inside our autistic or inside our ADHD mind. They did a series, and autistic people, because they sense the world very differently and they're highly sensitive and whatever, when they are in front of people who aren't autistic, they will produce behaviour that is masking how they really want to be. And it made me realise that this even overspills into every aspect of my life, but it's made me very successful in my career, for instance. But because at school, from a very young age, I was told, you're not paying attention, you're not listening, you need to listen to when someone's speaking to you, all these things growing up as we do. I became an expert at, when someone's talking and they're not keeping my attention, which is, it does happen quite a lot if someone's talking quite slowly, whatever.
If they're too slow, I'm soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
Then do you produce behaviour that is kind of enforcing that you are? And it's something that I do regularly. And I didn't realise that was something called masking.
Oh, yeah, I do. I put a very interesting face, and I might thinking of the laundry or my cat or whatever,
Nodding a few times, yes. But I do it too. But the funny thing about that is what I do in my day job is I recruit lawyers for a living. And I've become so good at being able to sense, how that person feels, what they're thinking, how they might be feeling at that time. Very powerful things that, when used in recruitment, it works very well. I was a psychic for years, Mia, and I didn't even realise that I was a psychic.
Oh, what a good practicing.
It was, but I didn't even realise that's what it was. And then when I started trying to unfold my psychicness, I went, I'm struggling. I don't know if I am a psychic. Then I had to remind myself, you've been reading people, Jason, for years.
Yeah.
It made me realise in my mediumship that and this is a big thing I've had to sort of continue to work on, if I've got a sitter in front of me and I say something and someone might make a facial expression like, you're like a no or something, facial expression, because I've got ADHD brain, I'm constantly analysing that person, and that one facial expression could throw me off.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I never look at them when I read someone.
Yes. Where do you tend to look?
I look on the side of them, or I'm staring, and I actually tell them, I'm sorry if I'm not going to look at you because I want to stay in the energy. Then I don't have, and I just go back for a yes, because if, like you said, you see, they go like that, I start questioning myself immediately. But if I'm not looking at them, I can stay in the power to sort things out, and I go, oh yeah, and then they understand.
It's interesting. Recently, I did an exercise, which I'm sure you might do this with your students, but where you put the blindfold on and then have someone in front of you. Yeah. And I love that exercise. That's like it actually made me think I want to do every reading with a blindfold on. I just won't see the person ever.
Yeah. It's so easy, so much easier because you're in the flow then.
Yeah.
And you don't get interrupted with the body language or whatever, So I get that. And I think the HDAD has been both my curse and my success, actually, because it means when I put my mind to something, there's nothing stopping me, So I can be very, how do you say?
Force of thunder.
Yeah. And fanatic about things, when I get into something. But I also get bored so very quickly.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I have a lot of hobbies. I pick things up and I put them down and I pick them up again. And then, I need to learn to sort of stick to one thing. But I would describe it in exactly the same way for me. It's been my biggest thing that's made me successful, but it's also my biggest curse in some ways.
Yeah.
But I know what I need to do in the areas that I'm weaker at. I know that detail. Honestly, ChatGPT has changed my life because since I don't half of me likes AI because it makes me very efficient, but half of me also doesn't like it because I feel that I know that every time I do a search on AI, it's using water, very valuable resource to cool it.
Yeah.
So I have mixed. When I push the enter, I try to push it consciously, knowing that a few litres of water has been used in power.
I didn't know that actually. Now I'm going to feel guilty when I'm using it.
It's actually, the stat on it is I think every time you do an inquiry, it uses like a litre of water to cool it. Yeah, which is what the amount of energy. This is the problem with AI is the way it's developing at the moment. It's using not only tons of electricity, but it needs so much water to keep it cool that that's why one of the big concerns about it is that it churns through water. But I can understand why with how clever it is because what it can do in this space of seconds is just groundbreaking. But it's a great tool for people with ADHD because I used to get contracts and be like, oh God, I can't read them. I can't pay attention to them. Like one of the worst things you can get me to do is like a flat pack piece of furniture or a Lego set. If you was to give me a Lego set, it'd be like my idea of hell,
I get you.
Yeah, but you have to build this massive tank out of 100 pages of Lego. No, that's not what I want.
And I can't read description, if I buy something and it should go through the manual, I hate it. I do everything wrong first and then I have to go back to it.
Yeah, the manual normally comes out after about 2 months when I've realised I haven't read it and what I'm trying to now do is not working or the device is broken because it hasn't had the sufficient level of maintenance. So I wanted to ask you, another topic that you kindly provided me with is the role of surrender in mediumship. Now, do I feel at the moment that I am totally surrendered? It depends on which week you catch me. I like to say that I am totally in surrender to the spirit, but then if I was, then why am I trying so hard to control certain aspects of my life?
Yeah.
In certain areas, I'm now accepting that the more I try to control my life and the less in the flow I am, the less likely something is to flow. And I feel that I am at a point of some level of surrender, but I aspire to be in a point of total surrender. Is that a place we can ever get to, do you think?
I don't think so, if I should be honest.
No.
Because I think the human aspect, the animal instinct, I think that's something we have to work with all our life. And I think I talk to myself every time I do work, and even in my normal day life, I have to talk to myself. I used to say I brainwash myself to surrender. I have to constantly remind myself that you are not in charge here, Mia. And trust the spirit. Don't interfere with your mind because it's not half as intelligent. And there's, just try to surrender. But in the middle of a flow of a contact, I can start to questioning things. And I have to, come on, Mia, put that to one side, stick to the energy. And because mediumship is quick, so you have a lot of thoughts going on while you're working. But I don't think I ever worked without my mind coming in and interfere. My insecurity might come in or whatever. And I have to talk to myself to get out of the way, trust whatever is. But it is a consistent work, I should say.
It's when you're saying that, I do think that because I've spoken to many mediums now who've got ADHD or they're at some stage of diagnosis, but I almost am starting to believe that it makes us in some ways better mediums because of the quickness of our mind.
Oh, yeah.
But also, how do we go about quietening that? Because it's interesting you'll say for every reading that you and I would not have said that you would have said that, and because I'm always feeling like I'm striving for perfection, and every time I do a reading my mind creeps in some way or another, and what will determine the ultimate success of the reading, a very funny word, success, but what would determine a successful reading in my mind is my ability to get back in the power after that interruption.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also believe that we're all striving for perfection. I'm a perfectionist in everything I do, and I get very frustrated with myself when I don't manage things. So I think that's the hardest bit with mediumship, because they can't make me be a better medium if I don't do mistakes, because I need to learn. And it's only the mistakes you reflect on after a sitting or a demonstration. You don't go through, oh, that went well, that I did good there. No, I never felt that. My mind is going, oh, I could have done better there. I could have done better there, you know. So, but I also believe that's what makes us true medium, because I've seen a couple of mediums coming down from a demonstration and said, oh, it was brilliant tonight. And I go, no, it wasn't, you know. So I think maybe it's a good thing to have that integrity, you know. But I think my biggest lesson has been not to beat myself up too much afterwards. Yeah, look at it, because I can't help myself but analyzing it. But don't beat yourself up. I did the best I could at the moment in time. So I use a lot of psychology on myself, because otherwise this work would be too hard because of my perfectionist.
We're very similar. We're very, very similar, you and I, in that respect.
That's why I loved talking to you last time as well.
It is. Well, we are, because I am. I'm so hard on myself at times. And it's, again, because if I look at my business life, my career, how did I grow my business in the early days? It was through being very hard on myself, but there was a quality within me that was manifesting because it was becoming successful. So I think at that point, when I go back to being 28, growing my business in the early days, I so believed and felt the purpose that it had to work, and I would show up every day, but I would push myself in an unhealthy way that was through, you know, not positive feelings. It was, you have to do this and you will do this because you must. And it was always trying to push myself to the next level. And then it's never even stopping at times to look back and think, well, look how far I've come. You know, we're always looking forward.
You forget to enjoy what you actually achieved.
Yeah, you do.
You're just striving for the next thing.
You are, and it's like that. And what you say about even doing readings, you know, I'm the same. I will give myself a hard time, but it's funny, you know, you never ever really look back at the readings that have gone particularly well, because they don't teach you much. It's the ones that go absolutely pear-shaped where you remember them and the lessons that come with them, even if you feel totally like a fool at the time, Mia.
Yep, absolutely. And if you would ask me, give me a reading where you did well. You know, I don't remember them, but I can sure pick up about 10, 15 who hasn't gone well. Them I remember.
We give ourselves such a hard time.
Yeah.
And and I always think that, you know, if we look at, and sometimes we can look at life through rose-tinted glasses, because, you know, we can look at ourselves and think, oh, it's, you know, perfect for someone else. You know, they aren't having the same things going on in their lives. And I think we all look through rose-tinted spectacles at time. But, you know, you've got to be your own biggest cheerleader. You know, no one will ever be as horrible to you generally in life as you will be to yourself and your own head.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's why I brainwash myself to. And
how do you brainwash yourself? What is this internal, you know, monologue that you
I constantly say positive things, feed my conscious. So I slowly but surely changes my old habit in my subconscious. So I always say, I'm going to go in and have fun. I'm going to look at what I'm learning, and I'm going to enjoy my session. I haven't totally managed that yet, but I'm not having anxiety like I had before I should start working and things like that. I know today I will be all right. I will be better or less so good, but I will be all right because of my experience. But
it's what you're saying there, even about just doing that, is raising your energy.
Yeah.
Before you're doing that.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard somewhere I always stand with my hands on my hips like this because it says that after 30 seconds you produce testosterone, and you become and you become a little bit more you know. So, and that becomes a habit for me. So I look very cocky, you know, when I'm coming in standing there, and I can feel like small as ever, but no one would ever know.
It's even like when I train sales people, generally people who are young, I say, look, if you're going to make a phone call, first thing you need to do is not be slouching in your chair, you know, sit up, puff your chest up a bit.
Yeah.
Let's even smile when we're making the call because that shifts an octave up.
Absolutely.
And, you know, even I've had to really look at things like this because there's, you know, even with sitting in the power. So I know that when you're developing your mediumship, you should be doing that all the time. But, you know, sometimes we drag our feet to things and we sort of look at, you know, these things that we need to be doing. So I'll give you the story behind this because it's quite funny. So a very wise soul said to me, I was saying, oh, yes, I must sit in the power more. I always make time. And he said, well, look, what do you think your spirit guides are thinking as you're going up there, dragging your heels to sit there at 9:30 for your disciplined time? You know, you're not even going into the experience with the right energy. You're going in, you know, saying, oh, God, it's that time of discipline again. You know, it's the wrong frequency to even start the experience.
Yep. I agree. I was very disciplined. My first 10 years, I sat an hour every day, at least, more or less every day for 10 years.
Oh, wow, that is discipline.
I was really disciplined. But I don't believe, I do believe it helps your development. But for me, I think it was a need to run away from life. So it was a lot of healing. You know, I could forget. I worked a lot with my anxiety and my nervous system. So and because I have a very quick HDH mind who goes all over the place, I think we all have that. It takes longer time to get into that position when you actually are in the power. We struggle so much more to get there. But when you finally get there, it's like the mind clicks in, aha, I know what to do now, and it goes very quickly.
Someone said something to me the other day, and I think that when you've got ADHD with the quickness of mind, I think there is something about your mediumship that is almost more... I feel like I want to say improvised, or it flows more in the moment because of the quickness of how you think. And he said a word to me, a very interesting guest I had a few episodes ago, but he said it and I thought there is something in that, what you're saying. There is a flow that you have more, that you just need to go into that sort of energy and that flow of the rhythm when you go into a reading. And the reason I say that is because it can be difficult to get out of the head even before you know that you're going into that experience, because you want to do a good job.
Absolutely. And it is quick. It is really quick. And I notice with myself, if I'm not quick when I'm talking, and if I'm not quick, you know, you understand, good, and I'm in there again. Because if I shut up, my mind comes in immediately and I start to think. And I'm not doing a good job. So if you see me demonstrating and I'm being silent for 3 seconds, my mind is in and I'm thinking immediately.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same with me. You get a piece of evidence or whatever it might be come to you. It's the same as me. If it's even more than 5 seconds, I'm out of my flow. The key for me is just keep talking, keep going. But it's that one, you know, it could be I look at an audience member or one of the, I saw an audience member, look at me, Mia, already making out as if I'm in some sort of theatre. I'll say, let's say it accurately, a fellow student somewhere says, you know, no to a piece of my evidence, and it can just send me off. But something funny happened to me. So the last time I went on a course, everything about that week was the spirit world kind of testing me. And I feel like I want to say playing games, because the teacher or the tutor would say, right, we're going to bring in a contact now for this, someone that this person would know, a family member. And then the spirit world would give me someone else for a different person. And that kept happening all week. And it was to test me on my ability to, you know, I've still got someone here, you know, besides me, And I was getting like, why is this happening? Why are the spirit world? They know what we're meant to be doing. Why do they keep doing this to me?
Then I have to ask you, what did you say you want to learn before you went on that course? Because my biggest mistake, I said to the spirit, I want to give this up 3-4 times a year. I'm nervous like hell and I'm not enjoying it until my job is finished. You must help me get a better confidence. What happens? I get a no for a year. Every contact I started, I get a no. And yeah, when I look back, when it finally clicked in, that taught me to be persistent with what I was getting and work with the pieces I have and not just froze up. So yeah, that taught me confidence, but it was a bloody hard year.
I bet it was. And I bet the Mia that went into that 1 year later was a hell of a lot more resilient after that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But that's what I needed.
I'm not going to die on the stage anymore.
Do you know what though? That's what I needed in that moment, and it was even funny because it was coming up in situations where we did an exercise where we had one person that so we were sitting in a circle, 5 of us, and we were meant to have one communicator go round the circle and each person give another piece of evidence. And every time I said my piece, the person said no, and everyone else got yes, 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 no, yes, 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 yes. And then it turns out I was linked to a different person.
Yeah.
So, it does happen. But, there's a lot to be said for trusting in what you get. How do you build that trust? And how did you I guess I partly was that year for you.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the start of it. But I think the most important thing was when I got my Lyme disease and it hit my nervous system. And I was really sick and I cried every time I should pack my bag and work. So I said to the spirit, please let it go to hell because I can't do this anymore. I'm fed up with everything, I had no energy. But when you're standing on the stage, you're screaming to the spirit world with the ego, please help me get through this evening.
Please.
Yeah, exactly, please. Because I lost my senses, I lost my feeling, I lost my pictures, I lost everything. I was just a blank paper because my mind didn't work. But I just started to speak and built a story and made up people, and it worked every time. And that actually taught me that I don't need to see, feel, and hear. If I have focus, I want to do a good job for the spirit, they will inspire me. And that helped me tremendously. So I'm not focused on this. I can focus on the spirit world, but I'm not bringing anybody in until I'm in action. Then I trust everything. I wouldn't trust, we're going to play along with your grandpa here. Let's see what I can get. I wouldn't trust anything. But if you're paid for sitting and I'm going to do my job, it's like I'm sharpening up and I have to deliver now. And then I trust everything that pops into my mind. Because I'm a perfectionist, I'm not thinking of my life. I'm not thinking of my husband. I'm not thinking of my kids or my bills or whatever. I'm just focusing. So I know when I have put my intention there, I'm going to do a good job for the spirit or as much as I can. I know that my mind will work for me, not against me. So if I get something they don't understand, I know I've assumed something through my life experience and how can I tweak it? What else can it mean? And then I learn something else. So I'm never afraid of a no, but I'm not comfortable with them. I don't think any medium will be.
Yeah, no, you don't go and you love a no. I don't think that ever becomes.
No.
I don't like knowing anything, not just mediumship, though. I don't like it when I pick up the phone to make a sales call and I get a no.
No.
But, one thing one funny thing I always say to people when I'm training them is I always say, the way I look at a no is it's just a no for today. Tomorrow it could be a yes. I'm
Absolutely.
very much glass half full like that.
Yeah. Me too. I have to, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do this. Because back the first 7 years, I cried every time before I went up on the stage. And I cried for 7 years when I went down on the stage because I missed the relationship or whatever. It's not like the client cared and not the audience, but I did. No. So today, I might reflect on it, but I don't let it linger with me anymore. I did what I could,
You do what you can and move.
Yeah.
Do the best job. So When you're in this flow state and it's, all flowing in your mediumship, how, did you develop that? How were, because getting in the flow is very hard, and it's even hard with our busy minds. What, advice can you sort of give to people about trying to keep in that state? Because that's one of the hardest things about mediumship, I think, is the ability to stay in the power. If, even for more than 5 minutes is challenging sometimes.
I think that's why it's important to sit in the power, because you train your mind to be focusing. So I think because I'm afraid to be a shitty medium, I've been very afraid.
Because you're striving for perfection.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. So when I'm standing on the stage, I just give statements and I just keep talking like I know I'm the best medium in the world. And even if I get there now, I pretend I know what I'm doing, even if I don't know what I'm doing. So it's like I'm faking it till I'm making it. Some medium gonna hate when they hear me say this, but for me, by just talking about it, let's say, oh, I have a mom here and she died from cancer, and they go, no, okay, if it's not cancer, can you understand that I have that feeling of something deplete? And I just keep talking, instead of allowing myself with my insecurity. Oh my God, I was wrong. Now I have to sort this out. And if I'm gonna sort it out, I need to keep talking, because otherwise I go introvert and all the insecurity and the fear hits me. And then I'm just blocking myself. So I need to keep, just ding, 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 ding.
Keep the energy flowing. But because you mentioned something earlier, if you get to know, you said that you don't move on, you sort of reverse back.
Yeah.
How do you do that? If you've had that bit of evidence, it's not taken. How do you do that without losing the flow? Because straight away you want to go up to your head.
Yeah, I think it comes with experience. And today it's very rare. I say, well, I'll leave it with you. It will probably come to you, because I hate that. I want to know, even if it's not my business to know, I want to know, because very curious when I'm working with the mediumship. And it's the only time I'm curious about people. This is going to sound horrible, but when I speak, I have friends, and I had one of my best friends after 15 years, she talks about the brother. I said, oh, you have a brother. That's how interested I am in people. That sounds horrible. But when I'm working, I love people, but I'm not into what's happening around them. But I think I drifted away now. But let's say that, and I say, well, I feel a distance here. So I know you wasn't close for many, many years. No, we were very close. Well, if I feel there wasn't close, there must be a reason for that. So then I have to think outside the box. Maybe there was a distance in kilometer, or maybe it was a part of the time where they were moving away, or, but I got the distance for a reason. Or is it just emotional? It was a distance there. But if I got...
The spirit is giving that to you for a reason.
Yeah.
Unless that's in your head, but you know the difference.
Yeah.
But the what I want to do is I want to sort of move on. But I'm getting better now.
I never do that, because then I haven't learned from my mistake there. And So in the first time I learned, it was when I got the pressure on my head, and I knew they died from a stroke. And that worked for a year or so. And then I got no. And I thought I lost it. And I got very insecure. And then I started to ask the client afterwards, do you understand what I got the pressure of that? Oh, yeah, he had cancer. He had a tumor. Oh, yeah, he had epileptic fits. Oh, yeah, he had tinnitus, So I learned a lot by them now. And now when I got the pressure there, I go, which one is it? And if I get them now, I usually ask them, would you understand something that I don't understand? Because then I learn something more. And I'm not afraid to ask today, which I was in the beginning, because we are so trained at never ask a question. But when you're finished, I think I will ask, because I want to learn. Why did I feel this, and why didn't I understood it?
That's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. And I went through a phase where I usually just bring one contact in. I have a mom, and suddenly I go, is it a mom or is it a grandma? And now I know if I get that feeling, I have both mom and grandma. So, instead of jumping between them, who is it, It's
interesting, because even that in itself, because you've had that feeling come through, so you now know that if that feeling comes through again, you can identify that with that. But it's almost interesting that when that happens, you do wonder, is the spirit world training you? You know, are they all working in some kind of order when you do a reading? Well, I'll tell you what, we'll sit down together in the spirit world. And, you know, next Tuesday when Mia does a reading, let's teach her that. So you do that there. And I'll make sure that when I come through for Mia in 4 months' time, I'll go in with that same communication tool because that worked a treat for Mia. Do you reckon it's in that much detail in the spirit world that they go into about these
I
things?
think sometimes, but I also believe that sometimes we put too much credit to the spirit world. I also believe that my own soul and my own spirit wants to grow. So I think sometimes when I think, oh my God, they're changing it again. No, they're not changing it. They're helping me because I want to learn more. They're helping me to expand my mediumship. So I think it is a partnership.
Yeah, it is. And there's a lot to be said for that. And I'm starting to notice patterns in my mediumship of things coming up or having had certain feelings before and knowing it's that, but it's trusting it enough to go, oh, you know, shall I just inject that? But, you know, again, like you said, I just need to keep in that flow.
Yep.
Mia, I could talk to you for such a long time. And I can't believe how much the time is flying by.
Flying. I so enjoy talking to you as well. It's so much fun.
We'd never run out of things to talk about.
No,
we could go forever. I'd like to ask you then to leave us on a final thought today then.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
I would like to encourage everybody who is practicing their mediumship skills, regardless if it's healing, trance, whatever, you know, spirit art is a hard one as well, to give yourself credit that you actually are trying. And also, I want you to brainwash yourself, as I do, that there are no no's. And no is just more learning. You're learning something more. You are actually extending and becoming better of understanding energy. So a no is a blessing, even if it's not pleasant.
Do not fear a no, embrace a no. It's no's that make us learn and grow. Mia, thank you so much for coming on to the Soul Sync. I've loved you.
I so enjoyed speaking to you.
Thank you.
But there we go. Wasn't that a great conversation with Mia? And yes, it is the no's. It's the no's that lead to the yeses. Kind of goes in my sales career as well, honestly. My mum's always kind of said to me I've had a problem with the word no, and it's kind of true, I tell you. But if you do want to find out when the latest episodes are out, because I do appreciate sometimes they're a bit sporadic, Soul Sync, subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast and you'll get notified. Until next time, bye!